Welcome to Speed and Color, a podcast and YouTube channel about custom motorcycle culture. Be sure to subscribe and turn on notifications to get all the latest content. You can also follow Speed and Color on Instagram. We hope you enjoy the show.
Hey there, how you doing? Welcome to Speed and Color. I hope you're doing well. I hope that you're doing really well. It's kind of a funny time of year, especially up here for Canadians. The season is just about done. We're getting a little bit of good weather right now, but it's fading fast, and those rides are a little bit chillier than they were, and this is always an interesting time of year. But we're heading into build season. Things are good. I'm excited. There's lots of good stuff going on. So let's jump into this. I want to talk to you about several things. So let's call this a housekeeping episode. And in terms of housekeeping, it's not just one thing that I want to do. There's several topics I want to chat with you about. So let's jump into the first one, because I think it's something we need to address, and we should get it right off the top here and take care of it, and then we can move into other stuff. So the first thing that I wanted to talk to you about is this whole what's happened is I've been approached by a few people lately who've said to me, there's no video with your podcast. They're on YouTube, of course, and they're looking at the podcast, and they're saying there's no video. All I'm getting is sound. All I get is the audio track. Well, there's a lot of confusion in the whole podcast YouTube world right now. And I don't think YouTube is doing us any favors. They certainly haven't done anything to clarify it. So I'll tell you my impression of it, what I think is going on, and how I think it could be corrected, but it probably won't be. What's happening is YouTube decided to carry not only YouTube videos, but podcasts as well. And in doing that, they used the term podcast, but nobody's really separated a podcast from a video. A YouTube video to me is a different thing than a podcast. So you may have podcasters who only do an audio podcast on the podcast platforms. To me, that is a podcast. The name podcast comes from iPod and broadcast, so it's a podcast. It was originally intended to be audio, and many people use that format. They don't care or don't need a video format. Storytelling lends itself to that beautifully. These true crime shows, all that kind of stuff. Very interesting with audio only. Then there's another group of people who do YouTube videos, and you can't find them on the podcast platforms because what they want to do is a video. I get it. So YouTube videos, absolutely fine. No issue. And if you don't want a podcast, or if you present things that people really need to see to understand your content, I can see why you wouldn't do a podcast. Then there's some of us who want to reach or at least want to offer our product, our content to the largest audience possible. And to do that, we do a podcast and YouTube video. In my case, the method I've chosen, and I've seen lots of others who've done this too, Peter Mansbridge, great journalist, really sharp guy. Pretty sure he uses the same format where we record a complete video with the audio, with the soundtrack. Then we simply pull out the audio put that on the podcasts to stand on its own, the podcast platforms, and the video/audio goes on the YouTube channel. So you can, just like TV, watch the entire episode, the show, or you can listen to just the soundtrack on a podcast platform. Why do I do it that way? Well, I got used to listening to podcasts when I was on the road traveling. I would turn on Jace Hudson, Fast Life Garage. Really enjoyed that. I think his podcasts are too long, but Jace is doing well. So who am I to criticize? But I will say, on a day where I was going to spend 4 or 5 hours on the road, a 3-hour podcast wasn't a terrible thing. So that's why I wanted to offer the audio only, was for those kinds of situations. The video, because we're dealing with, cool bikes, all kinds of stuff, maybe some how-to kind of stuff, I thought it was important to be able to show some things as well and make the video entertaining. The problem is YouTube decided to offer podcast support on their platform, if you will, on YouTube. And in doing that, they've kind of confused the issue, and I'll tell you why in a second. But in my world, a podcast should be audio only. That's what it should be. A video should be a show, a video with audio. That's what that should be. And I think the two things need a separate name. The whole world seems to just refer to anything that somebody's presenting now as a podcast. Whether it has video or not, they just kind of present it as a podcast. So YouTube didn't want to be left out. They come along and they say they're going to support podcasts. And they do, and it is separated out if you really kind of dig into it. But the problem is in your home page, in your home feed, they will recommend, for example, speed and color to you, but they'll recommend the podcast and they'll recommend the video. And here's the difference, and here's what you have to watch for, and this is what people weren't understanding and why they asked me the question. If you go to my YouTube channel, you will find offerings that have my podcast cover art. And this is what it looks like right over here. The podcast cover art never changes. I use that so that it's recognizable. That's part of my branding. The thing is, if you select that, and by the way, the cover art does say Speed and Color, the podcast. If you select that, there is no video with that. It is the podcast file, if you will. And YouTube just offers that out there in the suggestions or the recommended list without any concern as to whether it has video or not. If you look a little further, you'll see thumbnails that have a variety of things. I use different patterns. I try and stick to my colors for my branding, but so it might be yellow or orange or teal, and you might find I might have a picture of a bike, I might have a picture of a person, and it'll have a title, but it'll be a very different thumbnail from my cover art. That's going to be the episode or the show with audio and video. And I'm taking time to really explain this because you're going to find this with other channels as well, and Fast Life Garage is one. I remember myself a couple years ago when Jace started putting this stuff up on YouTube. And I'd go in and, it looked like what I was going to get by the thumbnail. It looked like I was going to get something with video. And in some cases I did. But in other cases, all I got was a static photo of two people sitting there, and there was an audio track, but that static photo never changed. There was no video. So there are other situations where people don't use their cover art, they use an actual thumbnail, and it gets very confusing. So bottom line is, if you get into an episode of anybody's podcast and you on YouTube and you see that there is no video, there most likely will be another thumbnail, another option to select that will have the video. I think that's usually the case. Or it could be that they've just put it on YouTube as a podcast. There is no video to go with it, and YouTube just recommends it, whether it's video or audio podcast or YouTube video. They just recommend it in the list and don't really have any concern for what the actual content is. So if you are listening to this and looking at the cover art, please jump back out and find the episode with the video. Mind you, today it's just going to be me talking, so maybe you don't want the video today. That might be a bad thing. But in other episodes, the video is there. I always do video and audio. If you're listening to this in your truck driving somewhere, then unless you've been to the YouTube channel, you have no idea what I'm talking about, and it's okay. You have no issue. It's only people who are trying to view this on YouTube who may get confused between the thumbnails. That's out of the way. Hopefully you understand. If you want clarification, or if you have any input for me, about YouTube or about the difference, or even a suggested name for what the heck do we call a YouTube video other than a YouTube video, but let's not call it a podcast. Send me a note, send me a comment. All right, that's the first thing out of the way. We'll get on to the second thing in just a second here. All right, we're back. I've had a sip of coffee. We're good to go again. Hopefully I don't have any on my lips there. Okay, second thing. I didn't think I was going to apologize, but I am going to apologize. I have been offline, off air for a little bit here. If I've disappointed anybody, I'm really sorry for that. That was not my intention. I will tell you though, for me, it's exciting. Life is good. I have just undergone one of those pretty significant changes in life. It caused far more of a workload than I expected. So it really, really caught me off guard and took a lot of my time. I also, I have mentioned this in other episodes, I think. I'm just getting through, and we're just about at the end. But last year we had a hell of a hailstorm here in Calgary. Our house was in the path of the hail. We're talking damage in the $65,000 range, siding, roof, and there's, I would say, hundreds of houses in this development, in this area, that suffered the same thing. Windows, we had to replace 5 windows in the house. So quite a devastating hailstorm. I have, on this particular house, we built the detached garage after we bought the house. We had a contractor for that. We finished the basement. We had a contractor for that. And now I've been through hail damage repairs and dealt with a contractor and trades on that. And I got to tell you, I like being my own general contractor. I like to get the best people I can and to make sure that things are done right. But oh my goodness, is it a pile of work? You know, we, and I'm going to deal with something else in this episode, but along the same lines. But you know, we just, our culture right now is not, it's not supportive of really, really good work. We don't have, I guess we have tradespeople, but we maybe don't have as many craftsmen as we would like. And I say that because, you know, in the motorcycle culture, man, oh man, people pour their hearts into these things. Wow. What's his name? Is it Jared Weems? There's Rick Bray. There's so many other builders, Jeff Cochran, so many guys who just do such incredible work. And I just wish that people building houses, doing things like that in the construction trade or industry, maybe I should say, I just wish they had that same passion for correctness, for doing it right. My goodness, go stay in a motel. I'll pick on Holiday Inn. Go stay in a Holiday Inn and take a look at the way the bathroom fixtures are installed and the way different things are done, and shelves and what have you. And it just makes me cringe. And I've spent a lot of time in hotels and stuff, being a road warrior traveling for business. And I look at the way things get done, and it just, and I know what happens. It's bottom dollar. It's how cheap can you do it to get the contract? And then you're working with inexperienced people, apprentices who don't get enough time from a mentor, from a tradesperson. Anyway, I just find that when you're your own general contractor, when you're hiring the trades, man, you got to stay on top of them. So it has been way more work this summer getting the house all repaired than I would have originally thought. It just it took a bunch of time, and even getting down to the new garage door, which I thought would be a no-brainer. And the thing shows up with two of the panels with scratches on them, and it's a charcoal colored door, and tore me up. Tough decision. Two panels, 20 feet wide, with scratches on them, and the decision is, if I reject them, if I ask for them to be replaced, I know that those two panels are simply going to the dump. They're just going to go to the landfill. Yet, for the price I'm paying, which is full price, and nobody's offering me a discount, not that a discount would have, I'm not sure that a discount would have worked anyway, but nobody's offering me any other solution. And I'm thinking, I'm paying for a full product, and I'm not getting it. I'm not getting a perfect product in the first place. And being that a house is for most of us, the largest investment we're ever going to make in our life, should you have to settle for imperfection because you care enough that you don't want it to go to the landfill? And there were options here. They could have taken that door and they could have sold it to a developer to go on a show home, or to go on another build, or where it wouldn't have been a problem. The scratches, I got to be honest, they weren't, it wasn't like you could see them from the street, but it was the installers who actually pointed them out and said, hey, we're really sorry, but these showed up with scratches on them. So I don't know, that kind of thing chewed into my time. And I don't know if it's smart to admit this kind of thing on a podcast or to the public. I guess it doesn't matter, really. The other thing that chewed up time is I'm now retired, which is great because now it's going to give me time. But to get to this point, I'm going to tell you, if you haven't retired, I'm going to warn you, there's a lot to do to get retired. And Honda certainly didn't cut me any slack on the way out the door. And I'm totally fine with that. They allowed me to work right up to the date I had given them for retirement. They didn't argue about that. And, but for that privilege of working right up to the date that I gave them, I got to work right up to the date that I gave them. So there was lots to do, and I wanted to make sure that I left my position and the people I dealt with in the best shape that I could. So I guess what I'm saying is life got overwhelming. It ran over me. And I could not find the time for editing and doing all the things that it takes to produce the podcast and YouTube channel. So I have missed some episodes. I apologize for that. We are back on track. I may look at increasing the schedule, the regularity, the number of episodes. I'm going to look at a few different things. I'm happy to tell you that I have, and I'll use the old term, I don't know what we say now in the digital world, but I have footage in the can, which referred to when you had a physical film. What was the film made of? Cellulose, I think. When you actually had a physical film and it was on a reel and it was in a tin box, so you have footage in the can. We don't have that now because I have a digital file in the cloud or wherever I happen to have it. But I do have material recorded. I got some great stuff coming up on my friends at Queen Street Motorcycle. Really good guys. Just get such a kick out of those young guys. They're important to me, and I think they should be important to the whole culture. So that's kind of cool, and that ties into the Bad Livin' Roadshow. Then I have some very cool video and an interesting interview with Michelangelo, and that is his name, by the way. Michelangelo with the rat bike, the Sportster with all the engraving. I don't know if you saw the YouTube short on it. Anyway, I've got that one coming up, and that bike is unbelievable. It's out of this world. Further to that, I have a couple ideas. I don't know if you caught it on Instagram, but Karen and I have invested in a 1976 Chev Vandura full-size van. We're going to camperize it. We're going to boogie van it. We're going to shag and wagon it, if you will. But we're going to do it in such a way that it also hauls a motorcycle. So I'm going to be doing some cool stuff there, and I'm going to record an episode about hauling motorcycles, if you will. And we'll be looking for some comments and input from all of you when we do that. And then I have another idea for an episode on garage art. There was one other one that's on my list, and I don't have my list right with me. But I know I had a few episodes planned out there. So we're going to get on to that stuff. We're going to do some episodes headed into the fall here. And we'll get back on track. And like I say, hopefully retirement is going to give me more time to do more of this, which I really want to do. As well, I've got to update you on the Yamaha. We'll do that on the Build Stuff platform. So we've got all of that coming. So that was housekeeping item number 2. I just wanted to let you know why I haven't been around here for a few weeks, what's happening in my life, and just looking forward to the future. I mean, this is what we all work for, is this part of life where we get to work on our schedule, and we get to do the things that we want to do. And it may involve some work for other people. It's going to involve a lot of work here in the garage for me. The main thing is, as I just said, I think the most important thing for me is whether I'm consulting, helping somebody else out, building here. This all gets to happen now on my schedule. I'm the boss. And that's kind of a cool deal. So thank you for your support. Thank you for being here. And we'll be putting more episodes together. Back in a minute with the next item. And we're back. Okay. Third item. And this one is important to me. It's important to all of us, but it's important to me. I think it's important to the custom motorcycle culture. It's something that I really take to heart, and I hope this comes across the right way. Recently I've had some experience. So, I'm building a couple XS650s, or you might know that. You don't necessarily know that. Anyway, I'm building a couple XS650s. We're talking 1979, 1980 vintage, and they are very cool motorcycles, and very cool engines. That XS650, the engineering there is really crazy, but man, it makes for a very different motor and a lot of fun, and we'll make a pretty cool chopper and a cafe racer, hopefully. Anyway, I'm working on those. I needed engine work done. I needed to go first oversize on pistons. I needed to do valve guide, stuff like that. I do not have the tooling to do that as much as I would love to. The garage is packed right now. I'm trying to figure out how to fit everything in for this fall as it is. So the garage is packed. I don't have room for the tooling that it would take to do that stuff. And the other thing is, I've never done it. Now I can learn to do it, because I learned to do everything that I need to do. But I was in a position where I needed to get this engine work done, and I thought, okay, where do I go? Well, there's not a lot of shops around anymore who want to work on stuff like that, or who have the knowledge. Even a simple thing like carburetors are getting tougher and tougher to find people who can work on them. And that makes sense. I get it. It's okay. In this case, I talked to a couple guys who are in the Vintage Japanese Motorcycle Club, and they do a bunch of restoration type work. They're very good with carburetors. They do a lot of clutch work and this and that, and on old engines, old Hondas and stuff. So those guys are pretty in tune, and they directed me to a local fellow. I'll just call him Jeff. I won't give you his full name because I'm not sure he'd want me to. Until I ask, I won't do that. So Jeff, they put me on to him, and I called him, and he said, yeah, I can do that kind of stuff. And I went over, and he's retired, like I am now, and he has a shop full of stuff that he's acquired over the years, and he's machined engines. I mean, he grew up machining these old Hondas and Yamahas, working on them, doing different things, whatever it took. So he has the tooling. He has less garage space, less available garage space than I do. He has a much bigger garage than I have, but in terms of where you can walk and how much space is available. Man, he's got that place stuffed. But he's got a boring machine and just, all the stuff he needs. I don't even know all the tooling, but he's got everything he needs to do pistons and stuff. And I ordered the parts in, took them over to Jeff. He did the machining. In this case, it was just easier while it was there to have him fit the pistons, do ring gaps, and install the pistons into the cylinder bores, so that I just have to drop the cylinders on and put the wrist pins in. So really good. Really good guy. Turned out really good. His prices, his prices are unbelievably good. Like, I was shocked at how cheap it was. So really good that way. Everything worked out. But I came home thinking, oh my goodness, what do we do when Jeff decides to stop doing this? Yes, I know there's other guys out there, but my point is the number, I believe, is probably going to get smaller and smaller. And it's just like, other things like hand lettering and pinstriping and just all those fine trades, those specialty things, and machining these old motors and all this stuff, the knowledge. And again, it makes total sense. I get it. It's the process or the cycle of things that you lose the knowledge of an era as those people age out. I get it. But I guess it left me with a need or a desire to say to young people, if you have any interest in this stuff, please learn everything you can. Learn from these people who are not going to be around forever. Learn all you can. I know you can't just stop working for the factory or working for whoever employs you and decide to open a little machine shop to service vintage motorcycles. It's not going to work like that. But I would encourage you to learn everything you can, because it's good, and it's going to be a required thing down the road. Again, number of bikes will dwindle. The amount of work will decrease, but still there's going to be a demand for somebody who understands these things and more on the art side, the pinstriping. Oh my goodness, that is an art that we just don't want to lose. So, and I see good revival in that. I see a lot of young people getting into pinstriping. That's awesome. Hand lettering, awesome. My friend out at Kickstart Customs, that guy, his skill, what a treat to watch his skills develop, as he practices more and everything. So really good there. But the machining side of it too, if you're a bit of a motorhead, a gearhead, man, if you can latch on to somebody like a Jeff and learn that stuff, and the reality is at some point that equipment is going to be available. Somebody's going to need to buy it. Hopefully somebody buys it and it doesn't just go into the landfill or into the scrapyard recycling. But anyway, that's just something that I wanted to mention, mainly aimed at the younger crowd. But you know what? There's nothing wrong with trying to learn this stuff when you're a little bit older too. There's no harm in that at all. So let's make sure that we keep some of these skills, that we work hard, all of us, to keep this stuff alive and to utilize the people who are working at having the skills. Let's not let's not forget about them. Let's keep them going as well. Um, yeah, that's just really all I wanted to say is let's not let this knowledge slip away from us too quickly. All right, back in a second. The fourth thing on my list, and this one, again, I hope I don't offend anybody, but this one just blew me away. You know, we've had a change in CEO at Harley-Davidson. So the new guy, Artie Stars, you know, from what I can tell, and I took some time. I've looked at this guy's background a little bit, not real in depth or anything, but I've looked at his, you know, his education, and I've listened to some of his YouTube, his interviews that are on YouTube. Neat dude. Got to tell you, well educated, lots of experience. Not experience in the motorcycle business. I'll grant you that, but well experienced in business. Young guy, vibrant, has led, you know, big teams of people and stuff. So yeah, I looked at it and I thought, this is a pretty sharp guy. This is a good guy for the job. But then I also got looking at some of the YouTube videos, and I got talking to people locally, and I got to tell you, the negativity and the criticism, you know, oh, he comes from the pizza and golf business, so how can he possibly lead Harley-Davidson? Who gives a shit where he comes from? I mean, seriously, folks, this guy, you know, he's done some really, really good things. He is obviously business savvy. He has a pretty good idea what he's doing. And, you know, to look at, I don't know what we're looking for. I don't know what we're expecting. Like I say, I find it very negative, and there's enough hate and negativity in the world right now. We really don't need to add to it. You know, our motorcycle community, Harley-Davidson are the absolute finest motorcycles on the planet, in my opinion. They are classic, but with current technology. Everybody, well, I shouldn't say that. A lot of people want to own a Harley. A Harley is kind of, it's a goal. It's where you want to get to, and it's an achievement. You know, the bikes are good. The technology is good. The history is unbelievable. The culture, the heritage is so much around Harley-Davidson. And why we want to bash the guy that, and I'm going to assume that many people at Harley-Davidson, the board, would have selected this guy. You know, they didn't just haul him in off the sidewalk. You know, there would have been a selection process to get this guy. And why we want to bash him and criticize him and humiliate him before he even gets the job, starts the job, I just don't get it. You know, I listen to one guy on YouTube, and I'm not going to, frankly, I don't remember his name. I don't care to. And I'm not going to give you his name because I don't care if you ever watch his channel. The guy, as far as I'm concerned, the guy's an idiot. But he starts by criticizing Artie Stars for having the name Arthur. And past that, he kind of gives an idea of what he believes Artie's personality is based on his name being Arthur. And then he goes on to say that no CEO at Harley-Davidson should ever be named Arthur. Now, I don't know, maybe this guy's a comedian. His humor didn't land well with me. He certainly needs to work on his material, and his delivery sucks. But, I thought, what are we doing criticizing the guy for his name? And if this guy is so sure of his theory, he should sit down and come up with a list of acceptable names for the CEO of Harley-Davidson and all the unacceptable names for a CEO at Harley-Davidson, and submit that to the board so it makes their selection process a whole bunch easier. They'll just be able to say, well, it's not this guy because he's got the wrong name. Anyway, this guy went on, and I was just, I couldn't believe the stuff I was hearing. And, a lot of the other YouTube videos, while they weren't as ridiculous as this guy, a lot of the other YouTube videos were, oh, this guy comes from the pizza business. What does he know about motorcycles? Blah, blah, blah. Well, I don't know. And you know what? Maybe he had never made a pizza before he got in the pizza business, but he sure did well at it. Same as golf. I assume he's a golfer. I've heard that he's a golfer. How much golfing he did before he got into the golf industry, I don't know. I don't care. What I want to know is that this guy understands marketing, branding, advertising, how to build teams, how to work with people. That he understands financial reports and profit and loss statements and shareholder concerns. That's what the CEO needs to deal with. There's a team of engineers at Harley-Davidson, probably a couple different teams. I always think back to what one of our Canadian prime ministers said when he was interviewed by a journalist who he was a very popular prime minister, well liked, and the journalist asked him. He said, "What makes you such a smart man?" And his answer, and I'm not quoting, but this is the gist of his answer, was, "I'm not a smart man. I'm just smart enough to surround myself with the smartest people I can find, and they make me look good." And, if that's Artie's philosophy, strategy, whatever, I'm on board. This is our guy. Anyway, Artie has taken over the CEO position, and the world has not fallen apart. Everything is fine. I will say the other thing that I heard a lot of criticism about, and again, both on YouTube and local people I talked to, one fellow who has a lot of Harley history, and I was shocked to hear him talking about Jochen and, referring to him as the shoe salesman. And, why are they keeping him around? Let's just get on with it. Well, in business, succession planning is a critical part of what you do. And succession planning for the business as a whole, but also succession planning for individual positions. I think it's awesome that Jochen is sticking around for 3 months to work with Artie and to transfer process knowledge and team knowledge and all that stuff over to him. My goodness, you want to make it tough for the new guy? Take the old guy out, all the knowledge and reference material. Take the old guy out and throw the new guy in behind his desk and say, "Do the job." Oh man, yeah, that's a recipe for disaster. So, Jochen sticking around, I think is a great thing. Do Harley owners and some of the shareholders, all of the shareholders, I don't know, do they believe that every decision while Jochen has been there was correct or the right way to go? Probably not, but having been in the industry for the last 10 years, I'll tell you, COVID was a tough time. COVID was something that nobody had ever been through before. And we saw, while everybody was thinking sales, well, not everybody, a lot of people thought sales were going to tank, sales took off. Working for a Japanese manufacturer, we couldn't get enough product. We couldn't produce it fast enough. Dirt bikes were flying out of the showrooms. Kids needed something to do because they weren't going to school, whatever. Parents wanted to ride with them because they had time. There was incentive money from the government for, I don't know how much of a difference that made, but there were all kinds of things happen that drove the market and made it great. I hear lots of criticism of Livewire and what was Zeiss doing with this whole Livewire project. What a dud, what a stupid thing to do, blah, blah, blah. Well, you know what? It was just a short time ago that we were really focused on climate change. And in my opinion, which I'm just giving you my opinion. I don't know if I'm right or wrong. But we got a U.S. president who not only is not concerned about climate change, but has voiced his opinion in front of the United Nations that it is the green hoax, that it is not real. Okay, I don't care if you agree or not. Actually, I do care. If you want to leave me a comment, I'd love to hear your opinion. This is all over the board. My opinion is it's not a hoax. It is a reality, and we need to clean up the world for future generations. That said, this president comes along, and from where I stand, it sure looks to me like the focus has totally been taken off of climate change action, electric vehicles, battery plant projects. Honda in Canada put it on hold for a while. Electric vehicle sales down, electric vehicle development down. We've certainly, there's not the priority there that there was. So with that going away, Livewire, when at its inception, was probably a really good idea, and the technology's phenomenal. I mean, that bike is pretty amazing. The problem is nobody knew that the demand was going to drop off like that. So, I don't need to defend Jochen. He's a big boy. I'm sure he's quite capable of defending himself. But I look at that and go, man, that would have been a tough ride. That would have been a tough thing to do. Again, not to defend Jochen, but I see lately I've watched a couple YouTube videos, read some stuff on the new Harley-Davidson models. And man, are they getting praised, which they should. They're freaking beautiful. But Jochen was the CEO when those bikes were developed and brought to market. And as fantastic as they are, we don't seem to mention that Jochen was the CEO when those bikes were developed. So we're, and I include myself because I've caught myself doing it on this subject and others probably, we're ready to criticize the guy for anything that went wrong, or wrong in our opinion, but we're not ready to throw the bouquets when something is really, really good, is really, really right. It was under the same leadership. So again, getting back to the bit about surrounding yourself with smart people, if there's a smart engineering team at Harley-Davidson, which obviously there is, then that's not a huge reflection on the CEO, other than he was smart enough to have a process that allowed those people to be there to design and build those bikes. Anyway, I found the whole situation odd, and it just made me think, why, seeing how we love these motorcycles, why can't we just step back and say, you know what? The board probably knows better than we do who the CEO should be. And let's rally behind the guy. Let's say, and I'll say it for me, Mr. Artie Stars, welcome aboard, buddy. And I don't know if I'm supposed to address you like that, but if you're going to be one of the people in the community, then I guess we do that. So welcome aboard. I wish you all the best. I have faith in you. I trust you that you're going to lead that team, and that Harley-Davidson motorcycles will be at least everything they've always been, and hopefully even greater than they've been. So I'm looking forward to the future, and I'm behind you 100%. That is my little rant for, about the CEO at Harley. Thanks for listening. We'll be back in a minute. And there is one last item that I want to talk with you about. This whole situation between the US and Canada and tariffs and trade wars and all this stuff. I thoroughly enjoy traveling to the US. I thoroughly enjoy Americans. And, I'm not going to tell you that I have all kinds of American friends. I don't. I know people in the States, get along with people in the States. We have a timeshare in the States. Karen and I have not only no issue, but we really value, or have valued, being able to go to the U.S. U.S. has all kinds of things to offer. The Pacific Coast Highway, which we've traveled once and we're going to do again. The Pacific Coast Highway. There's all kinds of cool stuff in Florida. Right across the country. I mean, everything. Just that drive from Calgary down to Las Vegas, through Utah, and the landscape and everything. Fantastic. Absolutely fantastic. And right now we are missing it. And the reason for that is, it is a very uneasy feeling for a lot of Canadians right now to go to the U.S. We're not really sure about what the mood will be. So the reason I'm telling you this is it ties into shows. Karen and I, like I told you, we bought this crazy van that we want to be able to travel in because it gives us a lot of flexibility. We can take a bike. One of our goals is to load up one of the bikes, probably the Sportster, because it's my favorite. Load up the Sportster in the van, travel down to California, to the LA area. And I haven't reached out to the guys yet. I don't know if any of you watch Unaffiliated YouTube channel. Cool guys. The guy who hosts it, I get a real kick out of him, and I'm looking forward to meeting him one day. But I plan to reach out to them. I would love to ride with those guys out to Born Free. So that's, and it's not a bucket list thing. It's just one of the travels that Karen and I would like to do. One of the trips. And we're sure hoping that we're going to go in June of 2026. That's the plan, is to have the van ready and have everything in place and be able to go. But, I have to admit, at this point, we are kind of unsure of where the relationship between Canada and the U.S. is going to be. We're hearing rumors, and we have friends who have traveled for business. Frankly, we don't have a lot of friends who are traveling for pleasure these days. And again, I think a lot of Canadians are feeling just like we are, that they just don't know what the reception is going to be. Hauling a chopper in a van, going across the border. I have no idea what American Customs is going to ask me about, or I don't have any skeletons. There's no ghosts here or anything. I'm fine, and I'm certainly not out to do anything illegal or any kind of crazy activity in the U.S. But I don't know what Customs is going to be looking for, and we see the coverage, and there's lots of different stuff in the news, and depends what news channels you watch, and it's hard to find the truth in everything that you're hearing. So for that reason, Karen and I are cautious about our travel. And we're hoping that things get resolved, or at least smooth out, so that we know what we're in for, when we do travel to the U.S. There are a lot of motorcycle shows in the U.S. we'd like to do. Born Free is just one of them. It's probably the top priority, but there are other shows. We travel may be just fine these days, but we hear things that go opposite to that. So, not totally sure. It's a difficult time. It's a difficult time for Americans. It's a difficult time for Canadians. We're watching our economy change, and things happen, which, we're all being optimistic and believing that these things will be for the best in the longer term. In the short term, in terms of what we do, buying stuff, and I'll mention names, but it is not the initiative or the fault of these people, but to buy stuff from lowbrow these days, oh my goodness, it's expensive. Now, whether the counter tariffs are still on items that I would bring in, I don't know. Nuts and bolts, the last time I ordered those, I think I mentioned it, I got nailed big time. Those are some expensive fasteners. I love the products. I love lowbrow and TC Bros and Revzilla and all the cool, parts suppliers in the U.S. Again, I want to be able to order that stuff. But man, right now we pay a premium. So do you travel down and pick it up yourself? Well, then you got all these concerns about the travel and what's going on in the U.S. And it's a very difficult time. So I wanted to share that with you. It's just my perception and my feeling. That's how I'm feeling about things. I really want to be back. I really want to go back to Vegas. I really, I want to go to Born Free. I want to go to Born Free, Texas. Moto One, all of them. I want to be able to go down and do those things. Right now, I just don't know. I guess it's not that I don't feel safe. It's just that I don't know what I'm in for. And that's unfortunate. So, to to Americans, I will say, we want to be back. We really enjoy your country, and we really enjoy you. Love to be there. please understand that right now it's just not a real comfortable feeling. And for Canadians, hey, you know what? If you choose to travel in Canada and in Mexico and in other parts of the world, that's okay, because we need to see those things, and travel in Canada is not a bad thing. Well, winter's coming up, so if you ski, great. If not, it might be time to lay low for a few months and save money so you can go travel in the spring. But anyway, again, that's just my opinion. I love Canada in the summer. The older I get, the less of a fan I am of winter. But it's all good. It'll work itself out. We still live in a very safe part of the world. Our economies are good. We absolutely have the best life possible, and I hope that we all recognize that and appreciate that every day, that this life really is good. Back in a second. Well, we're going to wrap this up. This one's been kind of fun. I hope I hope that you got something out of some part of it. Next up is going to be some stuff about motorcycles. So we'll have a couple episodes coming your way. Really looking forward to being back on track here. Thanks for sticking with me. Social media, follow us on Instagram. We're on YouTube. We're on podcast platforms. I will mention something. These days, you'll notice some YouTubers and Instagrammers mentioning that please share if you like the content. Sharing has become a big thing for the algorithm. So likes always count. Of course, they help. Comments always help. The algorithm loves comments. But the other thing that is really big right now is sharing. Sharing to the algorithm, sharing indicates that you thought the content was worthwhile enough that you wanted to let somebody else know about it. So whether you share to your story in Instagram, if you get a request to collaborate, collaborations are really good. And what happens there is the original poster invites you to be a collaborator. And essentially what that means is it puts that post into your feed when you accept the collaboration. As long as you like the post, I don't see any harm in doing it. And again, the algorithm likes it, so it helps things grow. All of these things count. I would say, and not just for Speed and Color. In your social media, it is social. It's interactive. If you like stuff, get involved with it. I know we all have limited time and everything, but I would suggest that rather than spend a lot of time just scrolling, take a little bit of that time and actually respond to somebody's post or share their post, or do something to have that interaction that drives the algorithm. So you can catch us on those platforms. We appreciate you. I appreciate you. And I hope that I will see you back for more Speed and Color. Take care. See you soon.